Now, the cell, that is the basic unit of all life. So every living being, every organism is either made up of one cell or multiple cells. So living beings, they're referred to as organisms, and they are made up of either one cell or multiple cells. So you have two types of organisms. You have a single celled organism, which is made up of only one cell, and you have a multicellular organism like us, like birds, like plants, like trees, fish, all these things, they're made up of many, many, many cells. So single cell, those are like bacteria. They're only made up of one cell. And multicellular is made up of billions and billions of cells. But the cell is the basic unit of all life. So either a living being can either be made up of one cell or billions and billions of cells. Now, the cell itself, there are two main types of cells. You have the animal cell and you have the plant cell. Animal cell is what animals are made up of. We're made up of animal cells. You have giraffes, zebras, fish, they're made up of animal cells. Plant cells, that is vegetation, like trees, grass, they are made up of plant cells. So they have very similar things in common, but they have some things that are different. First, we'll start off with the animal cells. The structures that make up the cell, that are inside of the cell, they are referred to as the organelles. So organelles, those are the structures that make up the cell. So we'll discuss the different organelles of the different cells. So first you have the animal cell. And the animal cell, the organelles, again, are the structures that make up the cell. You first have the nucleus. That is like the brain of the cell. That is the center. And that contains the DNA. So nucleus is the information center of the cell. And that contains the DNA, which we'll go more in depth later on, of how the cell functions is based on the DNA that is inside of the nucleus. You then have the ribosomes. These are these black dots, these dots here. And the ribosomes, they synthesize, that's a word you'll hear. That means make. They make proteins. They put together amino acids to make different proteins, which we'll get to later on as well. Cell membrane, that surrounds the cell and allows materials to go in and out of the cell. So the cell membrane, obviously very important. They're all very important. The cell membrane, basically the bodyguard to allow things to go inside and out of the cell. That is the cell membrane. The mitochondria, that is the powerhouse of the cell. That creates the energy for the cell to use. So the cell, we'll see that later on, how the mitochondria will create ATP, create energy for the cell. The cytoplasm, everything is located inside of the cytoplasm. If you go inside of a cell, you're not in empty space. You're in this like jelly-like substance, and that is called the cytoplasm. So everything moves inside the cytoplasm, which would therefore be considered the transport system of the cell. The vacuole is right here, these big circles, and they store food and waste. They store extra food and extra waste, like a vacuum. They store extra food and extra waste. That is the animal cell. Now you also have the plant cell. Now the plant cell has the same organelles as an animal cell. It has a nucleus. It has a mitochondria. People get mistaken with that, but they have the mitochondria. They have the nucleus. They have the ribosomes. They have other things, the vacuoles, the cytoplasm, but they also have a few things that animal cells do not have. A plant cell has surrounding the plant cell, surrounding the cell membrane, it has something called a cell wall. A cell wall surrounds the cell membrane of a plant cell, and it gives the plant this rigid structure. If you ever touch a leaf, you see it's like very rigid, very tough because of this cell wall that surrounds the cell membrane. It also has a very important organelle. Again, organelle is structures that make up the cell called chloroplast. The chloroplasts are these green things here, and that is where photosynthesis will occur. A very important process, which we'll discuss, is how they make glucose, and that is because they have chloroplast. The chloroplast contains chlorophyll, which gives it its green color for the plants. So chloroplast is in all plant cells. Animal cells do not have chloroplast, so we cannot do photosynthesis. You then also have something called guard cells. This is not an organelle, but this is a special type of cell for plants. These are also referred to as stomates. They are specialized plant cells that are used to control gas and water exchange in plants. So plants, we'll see, need water and CO2 in order to make glucose. So these guard cells, as we see them here, they open and close to allow water and CO2 to come in. If there's not enough, then it opens up. If there's enough, then it closes up. So that's the guard cells, and that is the different types of organelles. Again, guard cells aren't organelles, but they are a specialized plant cell that allows for the gas and water exchange. So, hi, this is Donnie Rudansky from Regent's Made Simpler. And if you'd like that lesson, be sure to check out regentsmadesimpler.com, which is in the link in the description below. And you could purchase my full course for just $89 for the upcoming Regent exam. This is the only resource you need to do well on your upcoming New York State Regent exam. And in the course, you will get a 2-part Regent's review of all the material you need to know in a simplified version, like you saw in that lesson. Plus, I have video review with visuals of past Regent exams. That is not just me explaining the material. That is also me, as you see in this picture, me with visuals explaining the correct answers and the incorrect answers as well. For just $89, that is less than one typical tutoring session. So you can go to regentsmadesimpler.com. That is in the link in the description below and check it out. And if you scroll down, you could see the a preview of those Regent review courses, and the video review of past Regent exams. Again, this is only for $89. That is less than one typical tutoring session, and you can get everything you need to know and learn everything in just 2 to 3 hours for your upcoming exam and do extremely well.